Before we begin today, let's give a huge thank you to my current channel supporters who are Wildwire, Elijah Perry, Common CJ, Keo Cartoons, and Noah Wizbios. Click the join button below to get a shout out at the beginning or end of my videos, and also feel free to answer the question of the day to maybe get your comment into my next video like this person right here. Yadabank suggested a Sonic and Kingdom Hearts crossover. While I'm not super keen on the idea of 2D Disney-style worlds for Sonic to run through, I still think some kind of maybe larger video game crossover where they go to different video game worlds could be cool. But yeah, love that idea though. Make sure to comment so we can get your comment into the next video. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, when I heard Sega was doing a Fearless Year of Shadow campaign because the movie was coming out and they had a Shadow Generations game on the horizon, I really wasn't convinced it was gonna pan out to be anything. For a really long time, all this series sorta did was make promises and then not really follow through on them, but a lot of stuff has changed in the last few years. With Frontiers leaving as much of an impact on me as it did, my brain started to really turn itself around on how I viewed this franchise. And I am very aware of the fact that they are really trying to do the same now. And boy am I happy that it's actually working. I've been seeing stuff from this franchise that is consistently making me happy, and I'm sure making a lot of you happy as well. And for me, that's a really big deal, because I had resigned myself to the idea that this franchise was just not going to do it for me anymore. I was going to have to be cynical and bored and upset that the Sonic I knew was never coming back, but a lot of the more recent things from this series have made me emotional to some degree. I feel like I can finally come home. I'm in a place where I can enjoy something that I really love. So let's talk Shadow the Hedgehog then. That's the big hot topic for this year. We've got Fearless, the Year of Shadow. It's all about Shadow the Hedgehog appearing in his own game. He's gonna be the big centerpiece of the biggest Sonic movie we've ever had. And he's also appearing as a piddly little costume in some other games like Monkey Ball, because they're too afraid to stick this man in a real Monkey Ball so he can go bananas. It's either against mandates, or maybe he can't be inside the Monkey Ball because of some, like, latex or plastic allergy or something. Still unsure as to why Knights can't be in the Monkey Ball either, but, you know, I guess we're just gonna have to give up on that. I feel like I haven't gone 3 steps on any social media without seeing some mention of either Sonic or Shadow the Hedgehog. So to me, that means the marketing is definitely effective. We even have things like the Shadow manga that is currently not officially translated to English, but we're apparently not allowed to read it. It's something that Koro does not want to happen, and in response to that I say maybe you should translate it to English officially and let me read it, because I would really love to, and I'm sure a lot of other people would as well, because the art's fantastic and the story is actually pretty good. But the big thing I'm here to talk to you about today is, of course, Shadow the Hedgehog Dark Beginnings, the animated series that was teased a while back with a quick clip of what we should be expecting from it, and finally the entire thing has been released, so I wanted to talk about it and how absolutely mind-blowing it is that we have a Sonic story in the year of our hog 2024 that has real characters, real emotion, a real story, and an animation style better than anything I could have ever expected from this. Like, you look at the game cutscenes from Frontiers, and you look at this, and it's like, man, I know which one I'd rather be paying for, and they gave this thing away for free. Come on, man. I'll pay you for it. I swear, make a full series, make the games and cutscenes look like this. I'll pay $70, no questions asked. As of the day I'm recording this, October 14th, Sonic the Hedgehog himself has uploaded the entire Shadow the Hedgehog Dark Beginnings series in one video on their YouTube channel. And I know I read that like Sonic the Hedgehog was like an entity himself who did that, but I mean Sonic the Hedgehog like the corporation. I'm not going to be showing too many clips or stills of that animation in this video. This is not supposed to be a replacement for you watching it. I just want to talk about what this animation means to me and what it means for the franchise as a whole. Please click the card up there to go watch the entire thing right now and support this incredible content that we've been getting lately. Please show them that we like what they're doing and we want them to continue on this track. Episode 1 starts off the same way the teaser did, with Shadow and Maria on the Ark, where we get to see things like Maria's illness in action. That's a very weird way to phrase that, but you know what I mean. We see Shadow's care for Maria and how he's there to help her, and he's always trying to make sure she's not overexerting herself, and how he feels really guilty that he was created to help her and cure this disease and diseases of many others, but he simply is not able to do that. A lot of questioning why he was even born, in fact, which is a really heavy topic for a kid's cartoon cartoon hedgehog game. This existential chapter of Shadow's life is interrupted by explosions. Lots of those happen in this series, but none more powerful than this because explosions shake the Ark and all of the ships around them, followed by Emerald the Gizoid breaking out of containment and supposedly thrashing some people around, probably killing a whole bunch of dudes. That's my boy right there. I'm really glad to see that, man. At Maria's request, Shadow goes off to help Professor Gerald not be killed by Emerald, and they have this fight scene that, again, delicious, absolutely wonderful choreography and just animation here. Oh my gosh, dude, like the expressions, the impact, oh, it looks good. And as that fight's going, Shadow wakes up in the present. That was all a dream, or a vision perhaps. Things about the Ark he hasn't thought about in a really long time, and he questions, is there a reason for this? And he heads off into the night to find out. Episode 2 deals with the present, where we have the gift of Team Dark reuniting and raiding an Eggman base like good old times. We see the trio fighting off egg pawns by the dozens, and when Shadow doesn't get the information he's looking for here, Rouge waves some information in his face that they might find by raiding a nearby gun base, which is very funny because Rouge is still employed by Gun, and you would think they really wouldn't like her to be doing things like that. And Omega, oh my gosh, oh my goodness, guys, Omega is written so nicely. He's written exactly the way that I really like him to be written, sort of like his Archie or IDW counterparts, where he is just this giant killing / sass machine, and my god, this is just how it should be, dude. Gives him so much more depth, because, like, you know, he can be a killing machine all he wants, but being a killing machine that really, really enjoys killing, it's like, it's very scary. It's very glad that he's on our side, but it's also very endearing. Moving on over to episode 3, we have Shadow, Rouge, and Omega taking on a gun base, and we see a robot flying drone thing that's sort of reminiscent of some SA2 stuff, but it almost reminded me a little bit of the Egg Genesis from Sonic 06, so I was a little confused. Probably just a little reference there for the people with keen eyes like myself. Who am I kidding? My eyes are awful. The team works together, but Shadow handles most of it using his very cool-looking Chaos powers, and the Chaos Emerald he's got on hand, which might I just point out, is actually the emerald that he has and gives to Sonic in Sonic Generations, so that's kind of a nice touch. And right as you think Shadow is about to let this pilot burn to death in the wreckage of this robot, he ejects that man, and he floats safely to the ground using a parachute, which then allows Shadow to head over to the rocket ship he was looking to steal and suit up so he can blast off for the space colony Ark. But before he's able to leave orbit, Gun starts encroaching on that ship because it's an unauthorized launch before, surprise, surprise, we have Mr. Gun Commander Abraham Tower call off everybody, and this is one of my favorite parts of the whole animation. Because I'm gonna be real with you, never liked the Gun Commander, always thought he was an idiot, didn't like his, like, crazy motives of, like, I knew this person and she died, so now I want you to be dead. I get it, you're probably friends, I understand that, but, like, he just felt very one-note in the past, and there was no real, like, canon resolution to Shadow the Hedgehog, because so much of what happened in that game is up for debate, and, like, which pathway is real, and only the last story is really what matters, and I don't think you ever really see them make amends. But here, he has done a remarkable amount of growth since Shadow the Hedgehog, and I just really love to see that. There's a character who has actually grown over time. Like, we haven't had that in, ever. Or at least since maybe Shadow the Hedgehog 05 or SA2, and both of those also involve Shadow, so it's kind of funny that characters connected to him are the ones that actually get to grow and change. We, of course, get that wonderful vocal theme in the background as Shadow thinks back on the life that was taken from him, and this is the part where I'm sure a lot of us had emotions flowing. Because, again, Frontiers may have had a good story, it may have had good moments, it had good emotion in some parts and cool beats, but this is like real emotion, and you can feel it in the animation, in the storytelling, in the flashbacks, in Shadow's face. It sort of caught me off guard. I was not expecting it to go that route because of all the mandates and all these things like Sonic's not allowed to cry, or Shadow's not allowed to be friends with anyone, or things like that. It's very good. I know that's a simple phrase, but it's very good to see this direction being taken. It gives Shadow a lot more relatability, because I'm sure people out there, including myself, have lost people, and you feel like it's unfair, and you wish things were different, but you have to keep moving on. It's a very powerful sentiment to put in something like this. And I keep saying something like this because I know Sonic is a children's franchise, primarily, but it can be for everybody, and that's why it's so important that they're actually including these elements. And that's it for Dark Beginnings. or at least what I'm going to tell you. I'm saying go watch the whole thing again, because there is actually an extra scene right at the end of that full upload, so you might see a little bit of a friendly face if you go check out that upload. So with the synopsis out of the way, I need to explain to you why this is so important and why I was so blown away by this. I already mentioned the emotional beats are surprising and very welcomed, because they really humanize this character, which has been seen as mainly just a random rival to Sonic, almost like a Vegeta without the personality or much of the fun behind him. But as a whole, this treats the world of these characters and the characters themselves with so much respect and love that's why I wanted to make this video. I'm seriously so happy to see these things being taken seriously, and it's not just a random gag, and the characters aren't just making funny little Marvel quips instead of having real emotions. Even the gun commander is a good character in this, and that, like I said, is a very difficult thing for me to admit, because I didn't like that character at all before. He appeared in Shout the Hedgehog and did some stupid stuff. It was generally unlikable. And then he was in Sonic Chronicles. I think it's supposed to be the same guy, and he was really just like a random NPC that just gave you exposition. Like, he didn't do anything. He didn't have any background. He didn't like interact with Shadow much or at all. And now it's not even canon, so he's basically been in one major title, and it wasn't really that good for him. Of course, the focus is Shadow. I already explained why I think Omega is great as he is now. He's a humorous killing machine, which is two things that don't usually go together, but are very fun when they're like a good aligned character, or even like an anti-hero. Rouge, I think, is pretty similar to most other incarnations, but this time she's actually a person of action, as opposed to just someone who will talk your ear off. You see, she has the ability to back up all of that, like, pseudo I'm better than you tone she has in her voice, and you can also tell that she really does care about Shadow and Omega and just the situation going on, because she wants to help her friend, but she's also got to throw in that, oh, you've got to make sure to come to Sonic's birthday party if I give you the information. And it's sort of like this is a very serious situation, and she's trying to make it a little bit lighter with some slight banter, and also, I can kind of rate it as, like, I think maybe Shadow being a little more social might be good for him. It's like almost looking out for him like a sibling would. And the gun commander, Mr. Gunn himself, Abraham Tower, now with his own name that was taken from the Archie comics because Ian Flynn wrote those too. Holy cow, dudes. Not only does this man probably save Shadow's life and his entire mission that he was on, he has the most character growth I've seen in any of these characters in such a long time. Just the simple fact of him saying, Shadow saved the world, I was wrong about that before, and if he had asked me, I would have given him a rocket, no questions asked, is so huge from just being the angry little creepy dude he was in the previous game. It's so funny to me that that is the thing I've fixated on the most, because it just makes me see that this world is not just 11 fuzzy critters that have superpowers. It's a whole plethora of people behind the scenes we haven't seen in so long, and more that could exist out there, that can do things, that we can rely on for things, and they have continuity and histories with each other, and that is making good on something that people didn't like very much from Frontiers. The main complaint I saw with that game in the story department was, hey, why are you just listing off all of these references to past things? It's kind of distracting, and I will agree with that. I think the way that it was handled is very tell, don't show, and that's not usually how people use that phrase. In Frontiers, though, the reason they were doing that, the reason they're setting up all of these callbacks and references is because they're trying to show us, going forward, this is going to be the stuff that matters. The continuity and things that have happened in the past all matter, and they're not just random marketing materials they can throw onto a poster or a trailer to make you buy the game, like Chaos was back in Sonic Forces. What that was is re-establishing canon, and from that point to Shadow Dark Beginnings, we have had a complete evolution of that style because we're still re-establishing canon, but now it is so much more show, don't tell, like people were asking for. We see it in things like facial expressions, in gestures, in the way the characters hold themselves in any given scene, in the one with Shadow sitting in the rocket trying his hardest to keep his mind on his mission, not on things he can't change anymore. And the only things he says about it are, stop it, that life was taken from me a long time ago. He didn't have to say anything else. We know exactly what he's going through. We know exactly how he's feeling. It's wonderful. It's incredible how that came out. It was chilling. Sure, we still have a little bit of it where, you know, Rouge reads off some backstory for Shadow, like, you were built by Professor Gerald, and it's like she's talking to Shadow, so he already knows this. But I think that's an unfortunate side effect of new people entering the series at this point. They have to get some of that information out quickly, that way they can focus on other things. And of course, we don't want too much of that, but it wasn't a huge focus. It goes by pretty quickly, and then they get right back to the action and the actual gripping storytelling. Now back to Abraham Tower for a moment, because I need to throw my 2 cents into the ring here. So I've seen Sonic fans complaining about Ian Flynn and his writing and all of that stuff. Basically, every time he is credited in anything, they always say, oh my god, he's ruining the franchise, he's turning it into the Archie comics. Guys, the Archie comics have been dead for a long time. If you're still crusading against them, I have good news for you. You won. They are not around anymore. So, like, you don't need to worry about that. The man's not turning the game franchise into the comic series. What you're seeing is the game series growing a story, a narrative, and real characters. We haven't had that in like 15 plus years. So I understand why you might be confused, but just giving this man a name that he used in a previous material does not mean that Ian Flynn is twirling his evil mustache, getting ready to introduce Sally Acorn to the franchise. Like, it's just not what it is. That's what we call a reference. And I'm sure it's a very important reference to him. Because when he was writing the Archie comics, I'm sure he was probably like, man, it'd be cool to write a video game at some point. I wish I could, like, work on the video game world and see what I could do with that. And now he is. So it's probably a very big mark of pride for him that he's able to include something like that. For the longest time, we've always seen people outside the Sonic fanbase saying things like, wow, they complain about everything. They have a complaint every time anything drops. And I was never really like that. When I had complaints about legitimate things that bothered me because I wanted them to get better. But this, to me, just sounds like baseless complaining. It sounds like random hatred just because maybe you don't understand writing, and it does actually read like those people that would say we complain about everything. It really just seems like some people need to be angry about something or else they cease to exist. Like, you gotta have something to talk about on Twitter, I guess, or else, I don't know, the Elon algorithm's gonna start burying you, right? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to single anybody out. It's just very weird to me that we have so much good going on. And sure, there are still things that could be improved on, but we're yelling at things that don't matter whatsoever. Like, you ever read Shakespeare? A rose by any other name is as sweet. You could call this man Edward McMuffin Fingers, and he would still be the exact same character. The name means nothing. The name is not a revival of Archie, it is a reference. Calm down. Just breathe, okay? It's all gonna be fine. I think the most important thing to gather from this is that they are taking this franchise seriously again. We are getting stories with actual thought, with real emotion, with real stakes and real consequences. This doesn't feel like a Saturday morning cartoon where the next game we pick up, it's going to be like, that stuff never happened and we're starting over from a blank slate. This feels like it's gonna have lasting impact on the story and narrative of this whole thing, which is so much more compelling than going through something like Lost World and being like, all's well that ends well, right? I'm gonna take a nap. And then we never talk about any of the stuff that happened there again until Zavik gets brought back with the Phantom Ruby and we just have the slight like, oh, it's Zavik. Wow. Like, I don't know, man. That just doesn't feel like anything compelling or interesting to me, especially if it's Zavik. But at the risk of continuing to repeat myself, I'm going to just close this out with saying Shadow Generations has had an insane amount of marketing, an insane amount of effective marketing, no less. And with everybody who's been playing this demo for the last several months at these big events or whatever that I can't go to because I don't have any money, they've all been saying good things. They've been saying the game plays great. They've been saying it's better than Frontiers. They're saying it's got, like, incredible potential for a fast-paced experience. Something that speedrunners will love. Something that casual players will love. And to me, having that confirmation alongside all of this other nice, wonderful stuff that they've been providing for us has me extremely excited for the future of this franchise. And the possibility that we might get, like, a year of Silver down the line. I know it'll never happen, but, like, you could do so much with that, man. Explore the future, see what's going on there. I guarantee you it would be cool. Silver for Sonic Movie 4, let's make it happen. Thanks so much for watching to the end, I really appreciate it. And if you did, let me know down in the comments you made it all the way here. It's kind of like you're in a secret club for making it this far. Without further ado, I'd like to thank my current channel supporters who are Wildwire, Elijah Perry, Common CJ, Keo Cartoons, Noah Wizbios, Neo, Disabled Gamer K, Coping Continuous, Giggles, Josh Wynn, Brish Dimmler, Goody, Blinky, Ken K, Mr. Mr. Cashmere, KWS Original, Dino's Burrito, Stormcat Kirby, Letter Blue, Super FNAF Dude 2, Hornet, Garrett Price, The Chicken Boy Show, Erwin the Fennec Fox, the real MVP, thank you so much, dude. He gifted almost everyone on this list memberships, so huge thank you to him. Will Yates, Colin A, Mr. Happy Shot, Saquana, Sonic's Prime, Henry Hart Gold, Spike the Mobian, Poke Hedgehog 321, That Linux Dude Dominic Hayes, The SciShow, Jade Teal Aaron, Melonhead, CSDX, Nean, Danny Lee Dauber, Mr. Dreamcast, Jeremy, Dax, Faye, Minty, Mega Traffic Cone, Ty Little Tech Guy, Crystal, and on Patreon, Drew Smothers, and Noah is Bios again. Thank you also to everyone in the $1 tier. I really appreciate your support, and remember, if you have a membership now, you can always continue it later to keep getting access to perks such as a badge next to your name, which lets your comments be seen easier, members-only posts and videos, a special Discord role if you're in my Discord, and my eternal gratitude. You're really helping the channel stay moving, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see all of you next time.